Let's get it. Aswand, Cruickshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, checking in for a daily Move Swiftly thought, giving you a perspective on teamwork you will not get anywhere else. Felt great to get back at it. If you recall yesterday, had a bit of a stomach issue and it was hard for me to even get to 0.1 miles. Today I knocked out 6, given that I took care of the stomach issues as I promised you, as I told you yesterday. I'll be back again tomorrow. And that's the beautiful thing about staying active, running, continuing to live a very active lifestyle, is you always have that opportunity. Whenever it is you may have a day that is like, look, I'm just not here, I'm not all the way there. You got tomorrow, Lord willing, you got tomorrow to get it right. And that's what I mean when I say lifestyle, folks. You can't be talking about shit if you're not living it, because when it comes time to connecting with your consumers, you just won't have it in your heart. You won't have it together in your heart to where people can feel it on you and say, that guy right there, that girl right there, that whoever it is, all right, that person lives the shit that they talk about every single day, all right? And that brings me actually to today's Move Swiftly thought, because I think I've officially found a church home, man. I think I officially found it. So if you recall, if you regular listeners, you guys know I've made a commitment to attending church every single Sunday from here on out. You know, very critical of what I actually call a church home, seeing that I've lived through some pretty fucked up shit, you know, when it comes to finding a church home and, you know, developing a walk of faith and developing a level of trust and making sure God is always going to be the number one. God is always going to be who I go to whenever I need, who I go to, period, with everything. Just give him everything. And, you know, walking into that life, there's a lot of judgment. There's a lot of people that I've been around. One of the things I actually wrote about in my first book was just being around the people who've grown up in the church and the way I'm judged, the way I've been judged by the people who've grown up in the church, which is why it's always been a very, very critical walk for me in terms of just the people I'm around and all that kind of stuff. So I've been going to Life Church for the past 4 weeks now. It's been 4 weeks, 3 weeks. There's gonna be the 4th week. And the pastor is a guy named Pastor Craig Rochelle. And the interesting thing about how I found out about this church is just through my lifestyle. You know, I was interviewing someone for my podcast, and she had mentioned the church, and then I was part of the run club, the run group, every Saturday morning, where, you know, we do a 6-mile run, and then we hit the cold tub, and then we hit the sauna. And it just so happened that one of the people that was in the sauna with me, she recommended Life Church to me as well. So, you know, I went there, checked it out, and just loved the service, loved they were about, loved how they communicate, and they just loved the lack of pressure, lack of judgment. Just go in there, develop that walk, all of that. But, you know, yesterday's sermon, recording this, by the way, Monday, I believe it's the 23rd, September 23rd, 2024. And the sermon yesterday my man Pastor Craig Rochelle absolutely spoke a word. He spoke a word, and he spoke to me in his service, in his sermon yesterday, seeing that I do a lot of public speaking, seeing that I'm on here every single day, always have a take, always making sure I'm putting myself out there in some way, shape, form, or fashion, and always looking to develop as a public speaker, develop into what he's been able to do, and figure out, you know, again, learn from the people that have done it before, and figuring out how I can make adjustments, what I can be doing. Always, I'm constantly on the hunt for people to work with and which I can learn from, right? So Pastor Craig Rochelle, he gave a sermon yesterday about second chances, right? A sermon about second chances. And he started off, he gave a sermon about second chances, but he also gave a masterclass on how to develop as a public speaker. All right, so he started off the sermon by saying, all right, I want you guys to go to, I believe it was like chapter 2 or something like that in this. And then he stopped himself. He goes, oh my gosh, I made a mistake. I'm so sorry. Can I read? And it really sounded believable. Again, I may be fairly new, so I may not have known. This may be something that I just may not have known was coming or whatever. But he goes, hey, you know, I made a mistake. I want to start over. And he did the whole thing, and he reintroduced himself in the whole thing. And it just so happened that the sermon happened to be about second chances, right? And then he reasoned with the audience. And he said, hey, now you guys have to think, did I make that mistake on purpose, or was it something I really did? And then he broke into his kind of reason with us. He goes, yeah, it was actually on purpose, but now if I make a mistake from here on out, then it was actually a mistake. And it led in, it made it personable. And that's the one thing when it comes to public speaking and making sure you're whether you're emceeing or you're pastoring, whatever it is, whenever you're speaking to an audience, you got to make them feel like each individual is having a one-on-one conversation with you. And however you do that, however creatively you're able to do that, that's a huge deal. So now people who are in the audience feel like they just had a one-on-one conversation with you, the same way I felt the minute I left, and what made me sign up to, maybe lead some groups and be a little more involved in the church and stuff like that. And that's how it should work, right? So constantly it gave a lesson on public speaking, and that is something that you can incorporate into your lifestyle, into your business, if you put the time in, and if you really spend a great deal amount of time focusing on how you're able to serve people. And I'll leave you with this, because one of the things, I've taken a lot of courses on public speaking and doing keynotes and all that. And one of the things that is really important for you to know is it's not about your story. It's really not. It's not at all about your story and what you've been through. It's really going to be about what the audience wants and what they're about. I've heard it multiple times. There was a seasoned speaker named Jonathan Spikes who once told me, look, you got to simply feel the room, and then make your address and make your statements, all right? All that being said, main website to check out to dive deeper into all my work, MakeYaMove.com. That's MakeYaMove.com. One-stop shop for all your teamwork and your self-development needs. Aswand, Cruickshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker checking out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.